Welcome into Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com, request your appointment online, and mention you're from 8-Man Extreme, and you'll get $20 off your new patient office visit. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Spencer Thompson along with James Shannon and Isaiah Austin. Well, James Shannon on the Skip the Sensitivity portion as always. Ready to bring you another good episode of Extreme Radio. So I'm here. Turns out I got back sooner from my short vacation than I expected, but ready to talk about football as we are officially 100%. Football is here. It's time for the Jamboree, and the week after is our first broadcast. We have the broadcast schedule mapped out. We know which games we're calling, and James leaked one of them last week when he shouldn't have. But we have the broadcast schedule ready. We know where we're going, even though there have been some changes. I think we changed it around one game, maybe two, but we changed it around one game, and we're ready for the 2018 8-man football season. Packed show today, but first things first. So last week on the show, I mentioned that during a JV game, when James and I were talking about on the Skip the Sensitivity portion, we were talking about the rule of allowing juniors to play in junior varsity football. And among the both of us, I believe our general consensus with that was that it should potentially be changed. And in that conversation, I gave a conversation of, I believed that rule stemmed from where South Haven and FCA played each other, and I stated that it stemmed from South Haven playing sophomores. I'd like to apologize, as I got the information wrong on that. I was corrected by one of the South Haven coaches at the time for that. It was they played freshmen against middle schoolers. They did not play any sophomores in it, and nor would the coach ever play sophomores against middle schoolers. Didn't feel right about that. So I want to thank the coach anonymously for correcting me on that, making sure I got the information right. But more importantly, I want to apologize to South Haven because it, of course, is not my intention to give any falsehoods towards any school or any program. So just wanted to get that clarified right from the beginning that they did not play sophomores. They played freshmen, and they were against mostly middle schoolers from FCA, and that's where it kind of that's where I believe that rule kind of stemmed from, or at least it had some issues from that. But as far as we know, nobody has played any juniors in junior varsity football yet. We're interested to see when that opportunity will actually come up, but we're not sure if that's going to happen. But yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way, guys. South Haven did not play sophomores. I apologize for making that comment last week and not getting my facts 100% straight on that. Just a reminder that this Saturday we have the coaches forum. Right now, as far as I know, we still have the same coaches confirmed. 7 coaches. I don't know, James. Let me ask you this. I heard that we had 2. Now I know you're on standby for Skip the Sensitivity, but you have most of the information since you're the coordinator for the All-Star game. I know that 2 schools dropped out of the Jamboree, and we're going to talk about that later with the predictions, but it was Lighthouse and Riverside that dropped out of the Jamboree. Is Creasy still coming up to the forum?
Yes, from what we're Coach Creasy is still coming and still awaiting confirmation from Coach Sharp.
Okay, so yeah. So Creasy's still coming. We still have those guys coming to the forum. So we still have the same coaches confirmed for coaches forum. We're going to be planning some questions to ask them individually. Seth Witherington from Franklin Classical, Steve Adams from Franklin Christian, Ryan Scott from Tennessee Heat, Jason Zimmerman from the South Haven Patriots, and again, Travis Creasy from Riverside Christian, Jordan Flanders from Christian Community. Oh, yes, that's right. They did change. You said Jason Bragg's head coach from Lancaster, and like I said, Jordan Flanders from Christian Community. Those are all the coaches we have confirmed right now. We haven't gotten any confirmation yet from DeJuan Sharp of Lighthouse, even with them dropping out of the Jamboree. We did have the rest of the teams that we haven't mentioned. We didn't get any confirmation, or they respectfully declined because they had conflicting schedules to the pre-Jamboree forum. So we have all 7 of those coaches coming on, hopefully more if we get confirmations. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a really good interview just to get word on the coaches prior to the week prior to the season, prior to the Jamboree. We'll ask them some questions, get their thoughts and such, not just on the past but the future of 8-man football. And as far as I know, we are going to allow questions from the audience. Whether that be pre-written or those be live questions asked by the audience. We haven't confirmed that yet. But more importantly, it is going to be broadcasted. We'd love for you guys to be in person there. It's at Christian Community School up in White House, down on their main pavilion, I believe it is. And we, of course, love you to be in person, but we will be broadcasting it, and we will take questions from the broadcast. So if you guys have questions for any of the coaches and such, we can definitely look at them on the broadcast and direct them towards the coach, all the respective coaches that are there. So we're really ready for this coaches forum. We're happy, as James mentioned last week. He's excited that we're able to put this on and such. So just a reminder, Saturday at noon. On August 4th is the first ever 8-man football coaches forum. So we're ready for that. So like I said, I got Isaiah Austin on broadcast here. And Isaiah, it's a shame that we couldn't get you last week because we had some really good discussions. But you were beaching it up in Florida, man. How was it?
Oh, it was great. It was good to get away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just got back from Kentucky Kingdom about 30, 45 minutes ago from going up there. So I had my own mini vacation as well. But you had even more sunlight out down in the Florida beaches. Was it Gulf Shores you were at, or was it?
We were at what was it? Seaside? We were near Seaside. Yeah, on the Panhandle.
Awesome. That's where I went for my senior trip. Actually, we had our own
wow.
beach house there at Seaside and everything. It's fantastic. Now, speaking of which, that was my senior trip for FCA, and you just went down there as a graduate of FCS. So, big topic we're going to discuss today is James addressed it on Extreme Talk. There are some rivalries. There are obvious rivalries that exist between different schools, and there are obvious conflicts. There are big clashes, collisions, all of that, big strifes. But one of the strifes that is kind of has been on a downslide and hasn't been as prevalent is the rivalry between Franklin Christian Academy and Franklin Classical School. Now, we know the history behind it, that Hugh Harris worked at FCS. He left from FCS to start his own school, Franklin Christian Academy, and the rivalry for the first several years and a little bit later, the rivalry between the Falcons and the Knights, it was bitter at times.
Yes.
It was bitter. You even experienced it as well, and I had it plenty in my 8 years of being there. But it was there was some bitterness in it. There was a lot of conflict such, but at least in the more recent years, it's kind of died down. But give us a little bit of insight from your perspective as, a guy who was at FCS for a while. Give us a little bit of perspective on how you saw the rivalry, how you saw it kind of, go down in its intensity over the time you were at FCS.
Well, let me make this clear, Spencer. I still love you. I don't care if you're from
Yeah,
FCA.
as far as we know.
Well, I think it's important to distinguish rivalry and conflict, as you were saying. The first 2 years I was at FCS, as my freshman year and sophomore year, it was more of a conflict than a rivalry. Like, there was a lot of tension and a lot went into the games, and it was kind of the game that you look forward to all year, going and having a chance to beat FCA. But my last 2 years, my junior and senior year, I got to know those guys pretty well, and it kind of became, I guess, a rivalry for bragging rights instead of a conflict. Like, those are guys that we talk, we help each other through life. It's more of a brotherhood through the conflict and rivalry, I guess.
Yeah, and over my time at FCA, I saw a little bit more of the bitter side of it, where there was more fights breaking out on the field, more trash talk exchanged and such. But what was interesting is, especially not just with, I'm sure that there was some of it expressed to FCS, but at least from what I saw with the FCA football guys, at least particularly from last football season with guys like Minor, Quibido, Weeks, Schindel, and them, was that they, had more of a obvious brotherhood, is what I've heard from some football players. I mean, I heard it from you last year. We heard it from Trent Legate. You heard it from several different football players. Is that they had more of a prevalent and easily seen not rivalry, brotherhood, that they were carrying on the field, carrying it off the field, regardless of win or lose or tie, even though there was no tie. But they had an obvious brotherhood that they presented, and I'm sure FCS had it as well. But I mean, that was one of the things that, at least last year, regardless of what team they played, they were more not just with their brotherhood, but they were more a class act, as some people would put.
Yeah, and I think both of us respectively started to see that as tensions on the field went directly to winning and not necessarily trying to make a dirty play at all, just knowing the intentions of those guys to just go out there and fight. We knew we were in the same boat. We knew we both were small schools from Franklin that were trying to make it to the championship. And those guys, just stand-up guys. You can't hate those guys, especially the senior class that graduated. And I just think it was a great learning experience for me to see that through all of the battles and all of the controversy and things that went on, you can really, at the end of the day, just chill and really enjoy each other.
Did you guys ever have any? Were there any moments over your time at FCS as a football player? Any times that there were? Was there an FCI guy who gave you the wrong vibe, or just did something kind of more trying to provoke you? Anything?
Yeah, my junior year, but I'm not gonna say any names. But he didn't finish at FCA. I'm not gonna say any names, but
right.
Yeah, of course, there's gonna be like people like that on football teams, but as a whole, that FCA team, I really enjoyed playing against them.
Yeah, and I had more time at FCA to kind of see the evolution of the rivalry, and at least from the beginning, from middle school. I want to say it was my 7th grade year that, many moon ago when I actually played football, 7th and 8th grade. It was I think it was my 7th grade year, the first time that we beat FCS in any sport was middle school football, or it was junior varsity football.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it may have been my 6th grade year, actually, maybe 7th, I'm not sure. But it was one of those years, and sadly, it was a good game for sure. It was fought to the end, but the only memory I have of that is our headmaster afterwards. He said, "That's the first time you've beaten FCS in anything. I'm buying CC's." When CC's Pizza was actually open in Franklin, of course. But yeah, it was.
And might I add, FCS and FCA both missed that sweet CC's, and there's no doubt about it. Or that CC's,
yeah.
I mean.
I'm sure anyone who's in Franklin, we missed that CC's Pizza.
Delicious.
Nearest one. I mean, I was house sitting for someone out in Smyrna recently and had it delivered to my house. Getting a little off topic here. I had it delivered, and it's just as disgusting and just as cheap as the $8 buffet that I remember it. So it's not as amazing. So it was pretty cool. But in all seriousness, no, it spilled over not just to football, spilled over to other sports, in volleyball, basketball, and all the other rivalries and such. And you played a little bit of basketball yourself, so I feel like there was a little bit more of a rivalry on the basketball side because FCS, obviously they pride themselves in all sports, but it seemed like I don't remember the name of your coach, but for the varsity men's basketball team, he was really prideful of his guys performing well and performing extremely well, keeping themselves composed. But there's always going to be some issues that happen on the court. So it was in basketball, at least, it seemed like the rivalry was more heightened than football.
Yeah, it was interesting. So throughout my last 3 years of high school, our basketball team was able to go on the nationals and come in 2nd place and have multiple guys go and play in college. And we had a really, really good team. But one issue that we had is that we just could not handle FCA at FCA as well as we probably should have, just because that environment and that culture and the rivalry just bleeding over to all sports, that was just a crazy environment to be in, and it definitely did translate over to all sports.
Yeah, and and at least now that it's declining in rivalry, and we're seeing even more, more intense rivalries between the games we broadcast and such. Now that with one rivalry falling, more have risen. Not just the one that James covered on Extreme Talk, but the several rivalries that we still have going on in the league. It's going to be interesting to see how those continue to play out as we go along throughout the 2018 season. As we always say, ladies and gentlemen, it's always an honor to have guests on our show and to have people to give insight, not just from inside the league, but from outside the league. And we have Mr. Johnathan Thompson of Tennessee 8-Man Weekly, who has been covering he's basically been kind of a media outlet longer in 8-man football than we have. So it's going to be really great to see his perspective and hear his thoughts and such. How's it going in the Cedar-free world there, Mr. Thompson? Now, awesome. Any new happenings going on? Anything in Cedar-free Radio as you prepare for the season? That's fantastic. We're really looking forward to listening to those shows ourselves. Now, tell us a little bit of how you decided to start Tennessee 8-Man Weekly. What was the idea behind being a media outlet for 8-man football in Tennessee? Just give us kind of a history of your program. Just to clarify, it's still an ancient website. It has.
Championship and consolation scores from the inaugural season of postseason play. And like I said, I mentioned that Tennessean article. I don't know who wrote it, but it was a pretty good blurb, about a quarter page about 8-man football in the Nashville area. And then I decided to do some investigating and found out there's whole leagues now. And so I decided to talk about those leagues since we actually had a team, McLean Christian, jump into 8-man football in our area. And now the Tennessee Heat is our de facto Wilson County team because Mount Jewett Christian Academy is their home field. And so to keep up with all the action, I decided to throw that together, not only for myself, but for others who really didn't know about the game and wanted to know more about the game.
That's a fantastic way to view it. I mean, that's kind of the same mission that we've had here as well, is trying to cover as many teams as we can and bring attention to them. That's why we exist as well. So it's good that we have two media outlets that are helping bring attention to the high school players. Now let me ask you this: over the times over the times we've had different teams come into the league, we've had them come in and out, and just switching between having a season and not having a season. Tell us about what are some of the positives that you see for having 12 teams in MTAC, at least, especially with your experience of covering teams in between, as many as little as 70, as big as this now, as big as 12. What are some of the positives you see about having 12 teams in MTAC?
Well, there is more opportunities for the young men to get out on the field when you only got 7 teams or 6 teams or 5 teams in some cases, as it was back when TAACS was winding up. You didn't get a lot of opportunity. You would actually have to just go find you some games. But now that MTAC has grown to the size it has, you've got all your opponents right there in one place for you.
Yeah, I mean, the teams are still spread out as normal, especially with this segues kind of into our next question, especially with teams like Lancaster Christian Academy and Sacred Heart coming back. And, we've talked about it on our show about the questionable move to put Sacred Heart in the north when the rest of the teams are spread out, and hope that, and, we've talked about it, and we'll see how it goes from there. But yeah, they're spread out, but most of them are at least close enough to where it's not too far of a traveling distance. But speaking of Sacred Heart in Lancaster, what are your thoughts on on Lancaster doing its first year of 8-man football, just going down to 8-man football, as well as Sacred Heart coming back into the league after their 1-year suspension?
Well, I think Lancaster Christian out of Smyrna, they have a real big advantage. Those kids, the seniors on that ball club, have some championship experience out of the NACAs, which are held in Dayton every year, as you know, in the 11-man game. So that team, they're going to bring in some good talent, and they're just going to have a little bit more field to work with. When you got 11 guys on the field, it's a little bit more crowded out there. When you got 8 guys on the field, not only is the play more open, but you're going to get more opportunities to get kids onto the field because you got that limited roster, and you're going to be shoving 8 in one play, and then maybe you'll have a second or a third string come in for a play, and then the starters will come back in for third down. So Lancaster Christian, I say that going from 11 to 8 is an advantage, just like when St. Andrew's Sewanee went down, although it took them a while to get back to their winning ways. They were a playoff team in the TSSAA back in the early stages of Division II private school play. Also, Riverside Christian, when they went down, it didn't take them that long to find some success. So having that 11-man experience like Lancaster and Sacred Heart do, that is, to me, a huge advantage because some of these 8-man teams that start up, they're just starting up for the first time, don't know what's going on. When you've got an established ball club that's been out there for a while and they've had success at other levels, then that means that they could bring that success to the MTAC level or the 8-man football level in general.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be bringing that success. And we've mentioned it on the show how there are cases where in high schools that have 11-man programs, they have maybe a third-string guy who's not getting any playing time, is not going to be able to see that 11-man football field. He goes, to a private school that's in MTAC or doing an 8-man football program, and he's a starter. So that's some of the great things about, going down to those smaller programs or, joining to 8-man football from 11-man is that you give your players more opportunity, especially, the ones who are closer to graduating high school who may not be able to put on pads anymore. So it's really interesting to see how their teams are moving forward. But part of that as well with high schoolers, wanting more playing time and wanting more games is getting into our next topic here, the extended postseason. Now, James has talked about it not just on the show, our first show when we did Skip the Sensitivity. He's also talked about it on Extreme Talk and believes that this should be not just for MTAC but also for collegiate football. Should be a 6-team playoff or potentially an 8-team playoff, but he specifically mentioned a 6-team playoff. What are your thoughts on extending the postseason for MTAC from 4 teams to 6 teams?
Well, it would, from 4 to 6, you just only have to add a week of play like James has mentioned. I think it would work if the administrators and athletic directors of each school would get behind that. So I would be all for more football. That's what we want to see out there, more good football.
Oh, yeah, we always want to see more good football, and I'm hoping that we're all hoping that a 6-team playoff is the direction that the league potentially goes forward in. But of course, we've heard all the board's thoughts on that is robbing from basketball, potentially making basketball get pushed back a week, or they're losing a week of practice, risking injury and all that stuff. So we've heard all those stories and such. So maybe it'll be changed, maybe it won't. But we always want more football, so we'll see how it goes forward. But speaking of the postseason, let's go a little bit wind back to the 2017 MTAC 8-Man Football Championship, where South Haven, the Patriots pulled off arguably one of the biggest upsets in 8-man football, with the Colts' undefeated season up to that point in the championship, barely managed to escape FCA in the semi and push through to the MTAC championship, and then lost by a several-point margin to the South Haven Patriots. And then, of course, they went on to nationals and won the national tournament down in Florida. So have you ever seen a larger turnaround for South Haven going from a winless season in 2016 to going to the championship? And to add on to that, have you seen a bigger turnaround than that, as well as a bigger upset than what the Patriots pulled off?
Well, as far as the 8-man game is concerned, I know St. Andrews Sewanee, they, like I said, took them a while to get to where they were at the end of last season. So St. Andrews Sewanee, because of that 3-team coin flip, everything, they could have been just the same as South Haven. They could have had that opportunity that South Haven had. So you've got a lot of these underdog stories that could pop up at any moment in any season. So the South Haven story, it was great, but could have been anybody. Could have been anybody that was a under 500 team that maybe snuck into that last playoff spot, or it could be a team that from a couple of seasons ago finally gets their junior and senior class all together, and then they make a run. And just this past night, I was watching TV, and the Arena Football Championship, also 8-on-8, had a 3-9 going into that, 3-something going into that Arena Bowl. Washington Valor win their first ever championship, and that's only a second-year franchise. So you can go from one season to another and have a terrible season one year, and then your world beaters are close to world beaters the next. So it's not out of the realm of possibility any given year.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Right about that. There's anything can happen in 8-man football. Anything can happen in high school football, because it all depends on the players you get, the coaching you have, and the many circumstances that happen between the games and such. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the 2018 MTAC season goes, especially since the majority of arguably one of the good senior classes over the past few years. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out for the 2018 season. Well, Johnathan, we thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming on the show, and we are definitely looking forward to your 8-man weekly show on Tuesdays, and we'll be looking forward to your predictions as well for the 2018 season. So thanks again for giving us your time, John.
Thank you, and hopefully you guys will jump on at various points in the season on Tennessee 8-Man Weekly as well.
Oh yeah, we'll be more than happy to. Thanks again, John.
Thank you.
All right, again, that was Johnathan Thompson of Tennessee 8-Man Weekly, and once again, you can check out his weekly podcast on Tuesday night. He usually tweets them out on his Twitter page. It's on Cedar Free Radio, I'm pretty sure is what he has it called as. All right, James, time to bring you in for Skip the Sensitivity. We really need to get a sponsor for this section at some point. That's what we need to do. Obviously, we're going to address the elephant in the room. I've gained 50 pounds aside from that. We're addressing the actual elephant in the room, which is...
It's not a nice thing to call me.
I just made a fat joke about myself, and now you're going to make it about you, huh? That's what it always is with James, man. He makes it all about himself.
Uh-huh.
But
all right, Mr. Host.
Okay, so Thursday, obviously, there's been a lot that's happened since the second episode of Extreme Talk came out. And obviously there are some different things that have happened and occurred. What we'd like to know is what your statement is on the kind of, I want, lack of a better word, the backlash that's come from it, as well as some of your thoughts on what's happened since the episode was published.
Well, first off, I'm going to take this opportunity to, I talked about on the first episode of Extreme Talk. We never want to make Extreme Talk about our personal lives and about us. It's always about the kids and the teams and the schools and the coaches. But something that has hit me personally this past week, and it's something that I now want to make a renewed effort to address and to help and bring attention and awareness to, is and really the awareness week in September. It's suicide. And I found out this past week that my uncle committed suicide, and it's I've never been hit with something like this before. But like I said, it's given me a renewed sense and a renewed desire to bring awareness and attention to the prevention of it. It's a very serious topic, very real topic, and it's something that if you need help, there's a suicide prevention hotline out there. If you absolutely want someone human that's local to talk to, my number is 931-206-1334. You can hit me up on social media. I'm dead serious about this, that if you ever question yourself and ever question doing this, I'm literally a phone call away. I will stop what I'm doing and I will talk to you, because no matter how bad your life is, doing that, taking your life, is not going to make the problems go away. You're only going to pass the problems on to your family and people that know and love you. So you're actually going to create more of a problem if you don't get help and don't talk to someone about it. So just right off the bat, that's something I wanted to address. I wanted to bring attention to. Like I said, it's something that hit me personally this past week, and it's something I'm going to be more of an advocate for. Addressing Thursday, there's been a lot of backlash and a lot of talk about the second episode of Extreme Talk, and I don't think people truly understood that when I said I'm going to give my unbridled, unfiltered opinion, that's what it is. I don't apologize for my opinion on the people have said that I sensationalized the rivalry between Southam and CCS. I don't think I did. I think the only area that I was wrong in, there were two areas. I was overly passionate about the rivalry because I have personal feelings for both sides. I care deeply about both sides. And so I might have gotten a little overzealous and overpassionate about it. And if I offended you in that way, then I do apologize. I'm not going to apologize for my opinion, but I am going to apologize for the way I approached it. Something I was wrong about, I at times struggled to separate fact and fiction. Maybe something that I heard, a rumor or a hey, did you hear this, that I had heard. And so I struggled to separate those two. And there were things that are facts and that I don't back down from. And there's things that were rumors that I presented as facts and might not have been facts. So when I'm wrong about something, and Spencer, you started out the show by addressing something you're wrong about. We're not scared to admit we were wrong about something. We're human. We're going to make mistakes. It's just going to happen. So, the best thing to do is to point it out to us so we can see. But I do want to apologize to people on both sides for my overzealousness and being overpassionate about it. I do believe there's a rivalry there. No one's going to deny that. Everyone's going to say that it's not as big as I made it out to be, and I think that at times it did get to that point. But again, hopefully it's nothing. Someone pointed out, I said that nothing. I'm surprised nothing happened in the basketball game. Yeah, because there was nothing to happen. I agree with that. I don't think anything is going to happen at the Jamboree. I don't think anything is going to happen on September or later in September when they play each other. I think it's the 28th. So, I really do. I'm going to bring my opinion. I'm going to present my side of things. If you don't want to listen to Extreme Talk, you don't have to. But if you choose to listen, you're listening to my opinions and you're listening to my side of things. So just keep that in mind and understand, it's called Extreme Talk. It's a different environment. It's a different tone than Extreme Radio or anything you've ever heard before. It's along the lines of Skip and Shannon, or pardon, no pun intended, but outside the lines or whatever it is. It's along those lines. So it's just it's straight up opinion, and again, so I'm excited. I would really want to thank all of y'all for the support, because there's been a lot of support, a lot of people watching it, and that's awesome. That's what we want to do. We want to get attention on, and we want to get eyes and views and listens on these kids. And, part of these kids is the rivalry aspect. So a lot of people want more football. More football is coming, including in a few minutes. But, had to get everything unpacked from the off season. So that's where we're at. That's where I'm at with Extreme Talk.
Yeah, we've unpacked everything from the preseason, at least at what we've needed to talk about. And I forgot to give it at the beginning of Skip the Sensitivity, because I think at this point people understand that with Extreme Talk as well as with Skip the Sensitivity, it's 100% James's opinions. And I understand if people do so, but it's not reflective of 8-Man Extreme. I know some people have their accusations and they have some things, but it's not James Man Extreme. It's 8-Man Extreme. It's a broadcast media outlet that is several guys donating their time, their efforts, their car miles, to a certain extent, in some cases, their own personal money towards making sure that these kids are brought attention. And of course, everybody else is entitled to their opinions as well. Everyone's entitled to disagree. Everyone's entitled to not agree with all the predictions we make, the things we say, not just on Extreme Talk, but on Extreme Radio. But what we want you to understand 100% is that all that we do, the focus, like James said, 100% on the kids and on the players. And most of that success, of course, is thanks to the coaches and thanks to the schools for allowing us to do what we do in terms of broadcasting the games and covering their kids. And again, it's about the kids, but any opinions that we give on here are, our personal own opinions. They don't represent the 8 logo. They don't represent 8-Man Extreme as a whole. And it's personally, I don't think you should, in my opinion, as I've said, it's our opinions. In my opinion, I don't think you should decide not to view the broadcast just because of something one of us guys said that you may not agree with. That's my opinion. And you're entitled to do that if you choose to. I don't think you should, but I won't get upset if you do so, because that's your right to. I just don't think you should make a judgment on one sentence that someone has said and translate that to not watching a broadcast of a good football game that's in between two teams.
And again, the biggest thing is being able to have, here at this table, me, Isaiah, Spencer, we don't 100% agree on everything.
Of course not.
The biggest thing is having a separate opinion and still being able to be an adult about it, and still not completely shutting down and shutting off and going, well, we're just not going to talk to you. We're not going to interact with you. That is, you can't do that in real life. You can't do that in work or you can't do that in any other aspect. So why do it in this aspect? You got to be able to have a difference of opinion and still agree to disagree. And from my perspective. So, anyways, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, you see, you turn it back to me, but I'm going to turn it back to you, because we're literally about to agree to disagree right now, because this Saturday is the football jamboree, and it looks like you and Isaiah have your predictions for it, because we've got good matchups between the teams. I don't know how many practices that both of you guys have been to, but you've got your predictions ready for the jamborees. And Do we have a schedule officially for that? Have they given us one?
Yes.
Okay.
I have been sent a schedule, and I was told that the person who sent it to me is waiting for 100% confirmation. Now, these predictions are pre-Jamboree predictions for the season. Now, next week, we might change these predictions based on how we see each team in the Jamboree. We could have a team pick to go 7-1, see how they play in the Jamboree, and they get just smacked around in both games, and all of a sudden, okay, well, I think they might go 4 and, hold on. I'm doing the math. 7-1, 4 and 4. 4-4 or 5-3. So, but yeah, it's I'm trying to find where the Jamboree schedule is. There it goes. Okay, so Friday night, there are 3 games that are going to happen. You're going to have Christian Community versus the Tennessee Heat, Lancaster, and then Lancaster Christian Community. And then on Saturday, you'll have Christian Community Bowling Green Classical FCA, so Battle of Franklin in the Jamboree. FCA at Sacred Heart versus South Haven. And then we will close out the Jamboree on Saturday night with South Haven CCS. So great lineup of teams there. You're going to have 14 scrimmage plays from the 25-yard line. I'm assuming that's going to be maybe your opponent's 25-yard line. 7 offensive, 7 defensive. 20-second play clock between plays, and then you'll have a 7-minute regulation time to follow. 6-minute break between each quarter. No overtime periods. Teams may warm up on the practice field before their quarter of play. Only teams playing the next quarter will be on the infield. And then a bunch of other little housekeeping things. But I'm excited. I've been going to the Jamboree. Well, I played in 2011, so this is my 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 9th Jamboree, and or maybe 8th. But I'm really excited about the Jamboree and to be there. I'm excited about the whole day. Got the coaches forum at noon. Stick around, maybe go get your bite to eat, or hit up the brand newly remodeled concession stand at CCS. They've done some major renovations. I was over there Friday, and they really, really touched it up. So it's going to be state of the art, and so go hit that up between times, and then stick around for the Jamboree. Going to have some good games.
I said predictions, James. Not stuff about the Jamboree. I said we got the schedule, yeah, but I thought you were going to follow it up with your predictions
Isaiah,
and such. But yeah,
we have our pre-Jamboree predictions. So kind of preseason predictions.
Yeah.
We have both sat down, looked at the schedules, looked at who everybody has coming back, and who they don't have coming back. So I'm going to let you go first. And let's see what you've got for the MTAC North. And obviously, whoever you've got picked for your top 2 teams are going to be who will make it to the postseason. And then the third team will be in the MTAC Bowl. So let's see what you've got for the MTAC North.
MTAC North, South Haven.
Okay. What's your what record you got them at?
I got South Haven going 6-1.
Okay.
I got an upset with the Tennessee Heat beating them.
Okay.
But I think they beat CCS this next year. Yeah, I think they're going to go 6-1 and make it number 1 seed in the North.
who's number 2 seed?
Say that again.
Who's the number 2 seed? He asked you first place, second place, and third or bowl place. Technically, your predictions
Bowl
on
place.
that. Bowl. That's what it is. Legitimately, it's first, second, bowl place. Because third place is the one who wins the consolation game. So.
Is Bowling Green in the North?
Yes.
Okay, then I got Bowling Green at second.
Come on.
We need to seriously have a whiteboard in here and just have MTAC North, these teams, MTAC South, these teams, because
yeah,
you know
I played for 4 years and I don't even.
You're getting
remember.
what I'm going to call Trent-itis, where he was having
Oh, come on, man. That's
hold on.
too low.
Hear me out on this. This is a legitimate fact. Trent would ask almost every episode of Extreme Radio last year, and I'm not dogging on him. He's a great guy, but he would ask every episode. He was asking about, I'm going to take, was it Riverside in the north or Riverside in the south and such? He'd ask about divisions and
straight
team
up
names
put the
and everything.
keys in that bus and
I'm
backed it up.
I'm just saying the facts. I'm
Love
saying
you,
the
Trent.
facts. We love Trent. He's a fantastic guy. It's just
I love you. He doesn't.
yeah,
Spencer doesn't love you.
facetiously. But we need a whiteboard that says which teams are in which division. But in the north, you've got Lighthouse Christian School, Bowling Green Christian Academy. You got Christian Community, South Haven, and Tennessee Heat.
All right, what are the remaining teams in the
the
north?
first team, you've
Those
got
are the
South
only
Haven.
teams in the north.
So you got South Haven at 6-1. You've got Bowling Green at what was it?
7-2.
Okay. Where do you have the Heat at?
I got the Heat going 6-4. That would be the bowl game.
Okay.
All right.
So-
What about Lighthouse and who's the other one?
What
I
about
think he was.
Lighthouse, CCS, and Sacred Heart?
Oh yeah, Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart's in the north. I
Yeah.
just want to say they're in the
Yeah,
south.
I got CCS going 7-2.
Okay.
I got Lighthouse going 1-7. I hope they prove me wrong. I just
Okay.
haven't seen enough of those guys.
Mhm.
And then last team.
You've got
Sacred Heart.
I
Sacred
know
Heart.
the South.
What do
I
you
just
think,
don't-
Sacred Heart? What do you think, Sacred Heart?
Sacred Heart, I think that they're going to go 1-7, just like Lighthouse. I just think there's not enough pieces right now. I think it's going to take time.
So you had Bowling Green or the Heat at 4 losses.
I got the Heat
You got
at
the Heat.
6-4.
So technically, okay, do you have Bowling Green beating CCS or CCS beating Bowling Green?
I have got
I think he puts CCS at 2 losses.
Yeah, so CCS and Bowling Green are 7-2.
Oh, I got
So-
CCS beating Bowling Green.
Okay, so basically it'd be South Haven 1 seed, CCS 2 seed, and then Bowling Green 3 seed going to the bowl game.
Yeah, I probably should have set this up by conference,
Yeah.
but there's my answer right
or by
there.
division. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
so you've got okay, so you got South Haven, CCS, Bowling Green, Heat, Lighthouse, and Sacred Heart. Okay.
Yeah, that's my order.
So for me, and I'm probably not going to be allowed back at May Flinders Field. So I agree with you. I've got South Haven first overall at 6-1. I think their upset is going to be the number 2 seed, which is Bowling Green Christian at 7-2. I think they're going to beat South Haven. That's going to be the one loss. I've got the Tennessee Heat. I've got the Tennessee Heat at second with 8-2. I've got the Bowling Green at third. So Bowling Green's going to go to the bowl game. Heat is going to be the second seed. South Haven is first seed.
Okay.
And then I've got Christian Community at 5-4.
Yeah, you're not going to be allowed there anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Here's what's going to happen. It's just like with South Haven last year. You said 2-6. You are literally predicting them wrong. You were doing the South Haven thing, so you can predict them
5-4
wrong.
isn't bad.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not bad.
I picked Bowling Green to win 2 games, and they won like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
so.
what you were doing is you were predicting your boys CCS, even though it's facetious bias, but you're predicting your boys at 4-6, just like you did South Haven 2-6, because you're thinking if I predict them at under 500, they'll go to the championship.
I'm giving them bulletin board material. So
yeah, you're not allowed at that field again. Just telling you,
Whatever.
they're gonna
So-
cancel the coaches forum on us.
Maybe. So I've got Lighthouse at 2-6, and I've got Sacred Heart at 2-6 as well. I think Lighthouse will beat Sacred Heart. I just don't know enough about Sacred Heart. I know they've got their quarterback coming back, but I don't know how good they're going to translate. And the same for Lighthouse, but I think they've got some dudes who are still experienced. They still got their quarterback, Ricky McDowell, coming back, and I think that's going to be an advantage for them. Now, in the South, I'll start out with the South, and if we're talking about teams who this is their first year back in the league, of course Sacred Heart's been in the league before, but teams that this is their first year in the league, we're talking about Lancaster. And in an upset fashion, I've actually got them number 1 in the South at 7-1. And I think between the roster I've seen of them coming back, Johnathan brought up a good point. They've got dudes who have played football before. They've played good teams before. I think they're going to come down. I think the reason they came down was just numbers. I don't think it was experience. I think they're going to come down, and I think they're going to show up. And also, I think it's going to be a down year for the South. I think the South is going to struggle. I've got Swanee at 5-3.
Who is your one loss that Lancaster loses to?
Lancaster's one loss is, I believe it's the Tennessee Heat to start the season off. Yes, Tennessee Heat to start the season off. Of course, Thursday night game. But yeah, I've got Lancaster. That's their one loss, so they're going to be undefeated in the South. I've got them at 7-1. I've got St. Andrews Swanee at 5-3. I think Jalen Tillman coming back and other pieces that Swanee has coming back. I think that's going to push them over just right over the edge and put them in the playoffs. And they haven't been in the playoffs since 2012 or 13. So
Been a while.
I think they're going to get back in the playoffs. And then my bowl team is going to be FCA. And I'll tell you why I like FCA is because they got their quarterback coming back, Daniel Holcomb. I said Drew the other day. Daniel Holcomb. They've got John Buchanan coming back, and I think that's
They've lost their whole offensive line though.
Yeah,
their defensive line is gone.
And
they got the coaching for it, definitely, but I don't know if they have the numbers.
Shaka could coach up a junior pro team to beat a high school.
I'm trying to use my connections to get him defensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. Trying to get Vrabel to fire his guy and get Shaka in there.
We'll see what happens. But I've got FCA at 4-4. They're my bowl team. So right now the bowl game would be FCA and Bowling Green, who start off the season against each other, I think.
They do.
So Riverside Christian, I've got them 4th overall. I've got them at 3-6. I don't know. I don't know about them. I think it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on them. Franklin Classical, I've got it 2-7. I just think they're going to struggle this year. They've got to get a solid quarterback. They've got some good line play. I know they got some dudes who switched to in the backfield. So I think they're going to. I think this is definitely going to be a growing year, and they're going to have a lot of growing pains. They had a couple guys transfer out to public schools. Eli Cornett transferred out. T.C. Harlow transferred out. So they're still going to struggle. So I think this is going to be a down year for them. And then Webb, I've got at 1-7, and I'm going to look and see what that win is for Webb. I just think Webb's going to struggle. They've lost for the first time. They don't have a quarterback who's been a designated quarterback on the roster for a few years, and I don't know. I think they're going to be classical.
Any predictions at all for Tennessee School for the Deaf?
I've actually got them at 4-3. They played Tennessee Heat at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll drop that game. They play Mississippi School for the Deaf, who's been super solid for a few years now, and I think they'll lose to them. And then they play them and North Carolina School for the Deaf are kind of on the same level, and they play a 2-game set. So I think they'll drop the game in North Carolina, win the game here. I also think they'll beat South Carolina twice, beat Georgia, and beat South Carolina twice, Georgia, and then split the game with North Carolina. So I've got them at 4-3. Isaiah, what you got for your MTAC South boys?
All right. At number 1, I got St. Andrews Swanee.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Number 2. Oh, you're not going to like this. I think FCS gets the 2nd seed.
Okay.
Yeah. I just don't see enough experience in the South. I think that it's going to be St. Andrews Swanee at the top, and it's going to be a mud fight underneath that, battling for that second part.
Do you think that Classical is going to have the advantage of having Coach Dub?
Yes.
And having an experienced coach.
I absolutely think that's it.
And if they had an inexperienced coach or one who wasn't as good, maybe they would struggle a little bit more. But you think he'll be able to get more out of the guys that he has, even if they only have 14 or 15 guys?
Yes, and the reason I say that is because getting the opportunity to play for Coach Dubs, you in his system, you have to grow up, and you have to grow up fast, or you're going to be left on the bench.
Yeah.
You have to learn to be a leader. You have to learn to play team ball, and if you don't, you're going to find your way on the bench really quick. So I think that's a great opportunity for them. I think a lot of guys switching positions and a lot of size on that team, even more size than last year, surprisingly.
Really.
But I won't get too much into it. I don't want to sound like a homer, but
you played for them. I played against them. So,
yeah.
So there you go.
Well, then again, you got CCS at 5-4, so.
That's true.
No, 4-5 actually.
I got
no 5-4.
I got CCS higher than you.
All right.
So who's your 3rd place slot in the South?
3rd place slot in the South is going to be FCA at 4-5.
So you guys are both thinking it'll be an FCA battle for the bowl.
Yeah, I'm still up in the air about their offensive line. I could be wrong, but they lost so many pieces on the line. But I do think they have an experienced quarterback coming back. They have John Buchanan, who definitely surprised everyone. We knew he was good, but in the All-Star game, he really showed the whole league that, there's a new sheriff in town, But I think they're going to go 4-5. I think they get the bowl game. At my fourth spot, I have the Webb School at 3-4. Or excuse me, I actually have Riverside at my fourth spot, going 3-6. I think Riverside has a lot of pieces. I think they got a couple players coming back that are going to be huge for them. John Trahan, he put up a lot of numbers last year. He statistically was one of the best players in the MTAC, and Riley Hall, who's a very aggressive defender. I enjoyed playing against him. Those guys are going to be able to carry them to a few wins. I don't see postseason for them though. In my fourth spot, I have the Webb School going 2-6. I think they're losing a lot of pieces, especially their quarterback. They do have a nice receiver core, though. So if they can get somebody behind the center that can run an offense and be a good leader, I think that could change very easily. But my prediction for now is 2-6. And in the last spot, which me and James disagree on this, polar opposites. I think Lancaster's going 2-6. And I hope they prove me wrong. I hope this team does well coming into the MTAC. They have an opportunity from being 11-man to come in here and really make a statement for what they really can do. And I just don't see a lot of experience on that team. They do have pieces. They have filled up a roster, but I just don't see a turnaround this quickly in the sense that they can be number one in the South just off of 1 year of so many changes happening.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what Lancaster potentially has to offer. I want to apologize to Lancaster as well because I was house sitting for somebody in Smyrna, and I was going to go out to their practice, but we had to get the episode of Extreme Talk out that Thursday because it was already posted about on social media, so I had to get that pushed out for James. So I'm going to try to get out to Smyrna practice at some point before their first game, before their season starts, maybe this week or maybe next week. But yeah, I want to apologize to Lancaster because I was really looking forward to seeing what you guys had to offer. But you're right; it's a complete polar opposites because we just don't know. As far as I know, I'm not sure. I don't think James has even gone to a Lancaster practice yet. None of us know.
Yet.
The only thing we know is a roster for this year compared to a roster for last year.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
I just haven't had a chance to get down to Smyrna, living up north of town. I will make it down at some point, and we definitely will see them at the Jamboree on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So they'll on Friday they play the
Friday.
Heat and Christian Community on Friday. And then in 2 weeks, they play the Tennessee Heat to open up.
When does the Jamboree start? Is it 7 o'clock?
It's at 5:30. 5:30 both days. So on Friday, you've got 3 games. Like I said, you got CCS, CCS Heat, Lancaster, CCS, and then on Saturday you have like 6 games. Yeah. So
and might I add, I think it's going to be interesting to see how much our predictions change after this, because there is so much mysticism in the air in the MTAC right now.
There's really a lot of it.
Yeah. It's, I mean, not just from it's the class of 2018 brought a lot to the table in the 2017 season. The amount of seniors that have graduated and have moved on. It's really a young year for MTAC for most of the teams, except for the only teams I would say that are not young would be Bowling Green and Lancaster, at least looking at the rosters. Those are the only teams who have experienced guys who are coming into the league, so they may take over. It may be Lancaster, Bowling Green.
CCS and South Haven both have a lot of juniors and seniors that played a lot last year.
But their seniors are gone.
But it's for me, for really both teams, it's a question of how well can those seniors step up? Are they, because every year you have seniors who you expect a whole lot of and they don't perform, or they don't meet expectations maybe, and maybe that's a little harsh, but for me there's been every year that I've circled one kid, and then or I circled like 10 kids and one of the kids didn't do well. So I've always kind of kept an eye on that, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a young year. It's going to be a very young year. But obviously, from our predictions, look for someone to get into, at least from the South, look for someone to get in the playoffs or get to the championship that hasn't been there. For me, I mean, I've got South Haven at 1 seed, yeah, but then I've got the Tennessee Heat at the 2 seed, which they've been to the playoffs before, but they've never been to the championship. And then on the other side, I've got Lancaster and Swanee, who have never played for a championship. So, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what's going to come from the Jamboree. If you see us, give us a shout.
Yeah, I think all the guys will be wearing 8-Man Extreme shirts, and if they haven't, James needs to give out the shirts.
Spencer will have his fedora on.
Of course.
Yeah, I need a shirt, James.
Yeah, where's
It's on air now.
I thought you had a shirt. Okay, well, hey, listen.
Didn't you get an All-Star Game shirt after
I got a hoodie, but it's like 90 degrees outside.
Yeah, you're right. Okay,
listen,
so you got a hoodie.
Listen, we've partnered up with BSN Sports, and they're going to be handling our online stores now. So we'll open that online store up coming up, and we'll be able to get some merch out there to y'all. We got 2 new shirts coming out. I think we talked about it. 8 equals 11, and it's 8-man football time in Tennessee. So
we didn't do any of the inside jokes from the show. We needed to do some.
We'll see. We'll see if we do it.
Yeah.
See ya on the back.
Well, that we should have had see ya with a whole bunch of A's on the back and maybe a picture of James in a headset.
We're not putting my picture on the front of the shirt.
We should,
the back though.
Just put it on the back of the shirt.
Maybe on the 8 equals 11.
Yeah, just 8 equals 11. We'll have like a picture of James giving a thumbs up
and
or
then
something.
See ya on the back.
Yeah, there's hashtag CCS bias. There might be one
gosh.
on there. Hey, I mean, hashtag Bowling Green bias needs to be one of those
We'll
shirts,
see.
but we didn't do
We'll
it.
see.
Yeah,
We'll
we
see.
should. We should do that at some point. All right, well, that concludes this week's episode of Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com, request your appointment online, and mention 8-Man Extreme to get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. It's official. It is football time.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
I wanted to mute him so bad. I wanted that mute button
6 day
right there.
countdown.
Yeah, 6-day countdown, and football is going to begin this Saturday with the Jamboree, and then our first broadcast will be revealed next week, as well as next week we will of course reveal all of our sponsors that we have coming into this season. It's going to be really exciting. We're very fortunate that we have several great companies that are partnering with us this season for our broadcast. Don't you dare look at me, James. What are you smirking
we
about?
almost did not talk about, and it's massive.
Oh, boy.
This weekend, the 2018 Extreme Preview will be released. We're going to get it released between Thursday and Saturday, one of the two.
Yes.
And we will also have, hopefully, cross fingers, knock on wood, we'll have our helmet schedule out this week. So you guys can check out the helmet schedule and the preview. Get loaded up, go to the Jamboree, and then there you go.
Yeah,
we're gonna get all y'all caught up.
Yeah, we're ready for that preview to be posted. We're ready for that helmet schedule to come out. It's going to be a very great season because football is here. On behalf of James Shannon and Isaiah Austin, thanks again for tuning in to today. James is already getting the headset off, ready for this. Thank you again for tuning in to Extreme Radio. Football is here.
See ya!